links in a chain in proper, linear, chronological order. The blockchain was designed so that transactions are immutable, meaning they cannot be deleted. Each block contains a hash value that is dependent upon the hash of the previous block, so they're all linked together, meaning if one is changed, then all the other blocks linked to it going forwards will be altered. This works to make the data entered tamper-proof. What we've described here is the workings of the first generation of blockchains, which function largely simply as databases. But the technology is currently evolving to become much more than this, as the second generation already provides the capacity to execute any computer code on the blockchain. The system is evolving to become a globally distributed cloud computing infrastructure, and as we'll discuss in a future video, it remains very much a work in progress when seen from this perspective. Blockchain technology wants to create a permanent and secure database. This makes blockchains suitable for the storage of a record or transaction that involves value or in some way needs to be a secure and trusted source of information. These secure, distributed records are called distributed ledgers. A distributed ledger is a consensus of replicated, shared, and synchronized digital data geographically dispersed across multiple sites, countries, or institutions without centralized administration or centralized data storage, being maintained instead by a distributed network of computers. Such ledgers can be used for any form of asset registry, such as inventory or monetary transactions. This might include the recording of hard assets, such as physical property, cars, homes, etc., or intangible assets such as currencies, patents, votes, identity, healthcare data, or any other form of valuable information. This distributed ledger technology enables us to replace a multiplicity of private databases within each organization with one shared database that is trusted and accessible by all parties involved. In this respect, the blockchain enables trust between parties that may otherwise not trust each other. The results greatly strengthen our capacity for collaboration between organizations or between individuals peer-to-peer, without dependency on third-party centralized institutions. Likewise, they result in transparency and many other efficiencies. This is of major significance, as we currently have many centralized organizations that may be internally optimized, but the inter-organizational space in between them is really inefficient, with huge amounts of border friction, redundancy, arbitrage, and resources wasted on competition. By enabling trusted inter-organizational networks, these ledgers enable the formation of organization and collaboration where previously there was none, such as across whole supply chains, or for different healthcare providers to collaborate around the patient's needs, or for different transport providers to collaborate in delivering an integrated logistics network. Likewise, second-generation blockchains offer the possibility to automate the workings of these networks through what we call smart contracts. Smart contracts are computer code that is stored inside a blockchain, which encode contractual agreements. These smart contracts are self-executing contracts, with the terms of the agreement or operation directly written into lines of code, which are stored and executed on the blockchain. Like normal computer programs, these containers hold algorithms that take an input of data and, depending on the value of the input, trigger certain events. For example, this might be a financial contract that takes as the input the amount of money in a person's account. If it is above a certain level, then it increases the interest rate that they earn on their deposit. Such smart contracts can be used for automating many basic operations on the network, once again working to remove the need for intermediary third-party institutions, as smart contracts can be trusted, are tamper-proof, and execute automatically. much of the current discussion surrounding blockchain remains at the level of the technology and the possibilities of distributed ledgers as a shared, trusted database enabling the collaboration between organizations, with the resulting disintermediation of centralized institutions and market exchanges. However, its implications go far beyond this, as the blockchain concept is more than just a database or ledger. It is a new organizing paradigm for the discovery, validation, and transfer of all discrete units of value and the development of distributed organizations via token market systems. A token is a quantified unit of value that is recorded on the blockchain. This value may be of any kind. It may be likes on social media, it might be a currency, it might be the integrity of an ecosystem, or it might be an electrical unit. Token networks consist of a network of independent nodes that act autonomously, but through incentive structures and the signaling system of the market, self-organized to create emergent coordination and thus a distributed management system. For example, we might create a clean air token, where anyone who provides a service that contributes to the maintenance and provision of clean air can earn tokens, for example by planting a tree, while those who pollute, by say operating a combustion engine, have to pay in air tokens. Thus, instead of having a centralized authority and a Clean Air Act, we have a token market that works to create signals that align people's incentives with maintaining and growing the underlying resource. Likewise, this same model could be applied to the management of technology infrastructure. As an example, we could think of traffic control. We currently have traffic control systems in cities whose operations are monitored by centralized control centers. But in a world of autonomous vehicles and the blockchain, cars could signal to each other, peer-to-peer, bidding tokens to see which gets priority. In such a way, the system has dynamically allocated resources and self-organized via distributed token networks. In short, blockchain is not just an information technology, but also an institutional technology, in that it enables us to design incentive structures in the form of token economies, and in such a way convert centralized organizations into distributed markets via token economics. This is where things start to get quite complex, as we move into the realm of designing economies and incentive systems for coordinating human activity in a decentralized fashion, something that could potentially enable the coordination of human activity at a much larger scale than has been possible before. The great design innovation of the blockchain is really its capacity to coordinate a network of autonomous nodes towards maintaining a shared infrastructure, and this is done not just through innovations in information technology, but also through the design of incentive systems, which has traditionally been the domain of economics. Through adding a layer of trust and value exchange to the internet, the blockchain merges our newly developed information networks with the institutional structures that sit on top of them. In so doing, it greatly strengthens the capacity of those networks as a new mode for organizing society and economy. By merging economics and technology, it enables us to redesign institutional structures and ultimately reconceptualize how we organize virtually every aspect of society, economy, and even technology infrastructure based on networks of autonomous nodes that are incentivized to collaborate. Of course, it does not do this alone. Such claims can only be realized in combination with other technologies and broader processes of change. As such, the blockchain has to be understood in the context of a broader set of technological transformations taking place with the current evolution of the internet. Most notably, much of what the blockchain promises will only be possible given parallel developments in the Internet of Things, datafication, and advanced analytics, all of which are combining to form the next generation of Internet, of which the blockchain will be a critical infrastructure. In this video, we're going to talk about the basics of the blockchain as a technology. On its most basic level, the blockchain can be understood as a new kind of database, at least this was its original design. What's different about this database is that it's distributed. Digital databases have been around for a while now, but until recently they've been designed to centralize information on one computer or within one organization. The blockchain, though, uses a distributed network of computers to maintain a shared database. The blockchain is then a set of protocols and encryption methods that enable a network of computers to work together in securely recording data within a shared open database. This database consists of a series of encrypted blocks that contain the data. The blockchain is a continuously growing list of these blocks of data, which are linked and secured using cryptography. This makes it a trusted database, with this trust being maintained by open, secure computer code and encryption instead of any single institution. The database stores information in blocks that are linked together through hash values, with entries to this database being made by computers that all have a copy of the database and all must come to consensus about its state before they can update it. So these are three central concepts of understanding the system's workings, that of blocks and hashing, mining and proof of work, and distributed consensus. We'll go over each of these separately. In terms of its structure, a blockchain may be considered as a series of blocks of data that are securely chained together. New blocks are formed as participants create new data or wish to update existing data. These blocks are encrypted and given a hash value that represents a unique identifier of the data within that block. This hashing works by a standard algorithm being run over the block's data to compress it into a code, which is called the hash, which is unique to that document. No matter how large the file or what information is contained, it is compressed into a 64-character secure hash. This hash value can be recalculated from the underlying file, confirming that the original contents have not changed, but the reverse is not possible. Given just the hash value, you cannot recreate the block's data contained within it, which is encrypted. All blocks of data which are formed after the first block are securely chained to the previous one. This means that the hash value of the next block in the chain is dependent on the previous one. Thus, once recorded, the data in any given block cannot be altered afterwards without the alteration of all subsequent blocks. As well as this hash pointer linking to the previous block, each block typically contains as well a timestamp so that we know what happened and when it happened. This hashing and linking of blocks makes them inherently resistant to the modification of their data, making them immutable records. You can only write data to the database, and once it's there, it's very hard to change, almost impossible. Thus, data stored on the blockchain is generally considered incorruptible. Blockchain security methods include the use of what we call public key cryptography. A public key, which is a long, random-looking string of numbers, is an address on the blockchain. Value tokens sent across the network are recorded as belonging to that address. A private key is like a password that gives its owner access to their digital assets or the means to otherwise interact with the corresponding data. A public key is associated with the private key, so that anyone can make an encrypted transaction to the public key address, but that encrypted message can only be deciphered with the private key that corresponds to that public key. In such a way, effective security only requires keeping the private key private. The public key can be openly distributed without compromising security. For example, on the Bitcoin blockchain, to receive funds from another person, you use a piece of software called a wallet, which creates a public key that you give to someone else for them to send bitcoins to that address. With your corresponding private key, you can then access that address with those bitcoins on it. The blockchain is a distributed system. This means there is no centralized organization to maintain and verify the entries on the database. This database is instead maintained by a large number of computers that are incentivized to provide computing resources by earning some form of tokens in exchange. But these computer nodes in the network themselves cannot be trusted individually. Thus it is required that the system provide a mechanism for creating consensus between scattered or distributed parties that do not need to trust each other, but just need to trust the mechanism by which their consensus has been arrived at. Any computer that is connected to the blockchain network and using a client can perform the task of validating and relaying transactions. Each of these so-called minor computers gets a copy of the blockchain, which gets downloaded automatically upon joining the network. When new entries into the database are made, these changes are automatically broadcast across the network. Mining nodes validate transactions, add them to the block they're building, and then broadcast the state of the complete block to other nodes on the network. In order to randomize the processing of blocks across the nodes, and to avoid certain service abuses, blockchains use various time-stamping schemas, such as proof of work. Proof of work describes a system that requires a certain amount of resources or effort to complete an activity. Typically, this resource is computing time. As in the case of the Bitcoin blockchain, this is realized on some form of challenge, such that no one actor on the network is able to solve this challenge consistently more than everyone else on the network. Miners compete to add the next block in the chain by racing to solve a very difficult cryptographic puzzle. The first to solve the puzzle wins the lottery. As a reward for his or her efforts, the miner receives a small amount of newly minted bitcoins and a small transaction fee. A consensus algorithm, like Bitcoin's proof of work, functions to ensure that the next block in the blockchain is the one and only version of the truth, and it keeps powerful adversaries from derailing the system. Blockchains are trying to create a secure, trusted, shared database, and they do this through encryption and hashing, proof of work, and network consensus. The hashing and linking of blocks makes it difficult to go back and change a previous block once it's entered, but this alone would not be suffice to ensure that the data is truly tamper-proof. So then the proof of work system intentionally makes it computationally more difficult to alter the database, thus making it extremely difficult to alter all the blocks. On top of this, it plays
with the best offers for Super Bowl 56, DraftKings is going to make you feel like a champion. Bet $5 to win $280 if your team wins. That's 56 to 1 odds. An official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 56.
This is a distributed consensus mechanism, so that even if some did manage to do this, their record would not match that of others, and thus would not be accepted as a valid record. So to successfully tamper with the blockchain, you would need to alter all the blocks on the chain, redo the proof of work for each block, and take control of more than 50% of the peer-to-peer network. Only then would your altered block become accepted by everyone else. On a blockchain of almost any size, this would be almost impossible to do. Indeed, the Bitcoin blockchain is very good proof of this, given that it now secures hundreds of billions of dollars using this method, without the network having yet been compromised. At the end of the day, what this technology enables is a database that is secure, with automatic trust that is enabled by open source code and encryption. The data is tamper-proof. Once information is put into the database, it cannot be altered afterwards. It is a shared database, as many people across the network have a copy, which is continuously being updated, so that all have a single source of truth.
There's some medias.
Likewise, it is transparent.
It's 20 minutes, half an hour.
Can see all of the transactions,
build, and then you just start making something.
Data quality and the resilience The network is
upgrade your
maintained
pickaxe.
by massive database replication across
To
many
go,
different nodes on the network.
Then
No centralized
then a stick
official copy exists.
or you can buy
The
wearable.
user is trusted more than
Get
any
Wonder
other.
coin.
Having started out life
Gotta get
as simply
fabric
a
and
mechanism
metal.
to enable Bitcoin, it has become increasingly recognized that this system is secure enough to work as a ledger for the recording and exchange of any value, or we now call a distributed
Life is
ledger.
good. Oh man, come on. One more diamond, please. Oh, that'll make
Over the
one more.
past years, blockchain has been evolving fast.
Maybe
From the
today,
original Bitcoin protocol to
maybe
the second
tomorrow.
generation Ethereum platform,
Ah man.
to today, to where we're in the process of building the third generation blockchains.
One more little
In this
diamond,
evolution, we can
please.
see how the technology
So I
is
can get
evolving
my
from its original
NFT
form
pickaxe.
as essentially just a database to becoming a fully fledged, globally distributed cloud computer. In this video, we're going to trace the past, present, and future of blockchain technology.
Oh, you can
The
go on
first
Twitter.
blockchain was conceptualized in 2008 by an anonymous
Like and
person
tag
in a
and share
group known
and
as
you win
Satoshi
stuff.
Nakamoto.
This
The
hoodie that I
concept
got.
and technicalities
The mask
are
that I got.
described in an accessible
This
white
video on
paper
Twitter.
termed Bitcoin, a
Leading body.
peer-to-peer electronic cash system. These ideas
Moon,
were then first
Twitter
implemented
Moon.
in 2009 as a core
We're giving
component
away
supporting
nice stuff.
Bitcoin, where it served as the public ledger for all transactions. The invention of the blockchain for Bitcoin
Shout out to
made it the
Off
first
Moon.
digital currency to solve the double spending problem without the
One
need of a
diamond
trusted
more.
authority or central server. It
Por
was only later
favor.
that we came to really separate the concept of
One
blockchain from that of its
Maybe
specific
tomorrow, guys.
implementation as a currency in Bitcoin.
Get me one
The
diamond more and I get a
underlying
pickaxe.
technology had a more general application
Can do it more.
beyond digital currencies
Look,
in its capacity
I'll show
to
you.
function as a distributed ledger, tracking and recording the exchange of any forms of value. The Bitcoin design has been the inspiration for other applications and has played an important role
Not
as a
today.
relatively large-scale proof of concept.
Maybe tomorrow, but this today.
Within just a few years, the second
Let's see.
generation of blockchains emerged, designed as a network
What
on
is
which
one diamond?
developers could build applications, essentially the beginning of its evolution into a distributed virtual computer. This was made technically possible by the development of the Ethereum platform. Ethereum is an open source, public, blockchain-based, distributed
One
computer
more
platform
diamond, por
featuring
favor.
smart contract functionality. It provided a decentralized, Turing-complete virtual machine, which can execute computer programs using a global network of nodes.
12 diamond, 25 ruby.
Ethereum was initially
I'm missing
described in
one
a white
diamond
paper by the
to get my
Italian
pickaxe.
in late 2013 with the goal of
One
building
diamond.
distributed applications. The system went live almost 2 years later and has been very successful,
Let's
attracting
go.
a large and dedicated community of
get?
developers, supporters and enterprises.
No diamond pickaxe. I just gotta get a
The
wonder
important
pickaxe.
contribution of Ethereum as the second generation of blockchains
Right.
is that it worked to extend the capacity of the technology from primarily being a database supporting Bitcoin to becoming more of a general platform for running decentralized applications and smart contracts, both of which we'll discuss in coming videos. As of 2018, Ethereum is the largest and most popular platform for building distributed applications on. Many different types of applications have been built on it, from social networks to identity systems,
And then you
to
can
prediction markets, and many types of financial applications.
get all this stuff here too.
Ethereum has
By
been a
playing
major
here,
step forward,
wonder
and with its advent,
land.
it has become ever more apparent where we're heading with
Get
the
all this
technology,
wearable.
which is the development of a global distributed
sometimes they put
computer,
new stuff
a
too.
massive, globally distributed
Gotta collect the
cloud
wonder
computing
coin.
platform on which we can run any
Like the
application
fabric,
at the scale
make
and
more
speed
wonder
of
coin
today's
to get,
major
get like 10
websites,
wonder
with the
coin.
assurance that it has
And
the
stuff like
security,
different things.
resilience, and trustworthiness of today's blockchains. However, the existing solutions that we have are like extremely inefficient computers. The existing blockchain infrastructure is like a really bad computer that is not able to do much except proof of concepts. Getting to the next level remains still a huge challenge that involves some original and difficult computer science.
that day, electricity and I, we don't get along very well. But I can finally start moving forward. Thanks to Wallbox, the safe and smart way to charge your car.
When I see a problem, I'm going to fix it. America's got a serious problem, so I'm going to get it off my chest. 5G phones. Trapped unlimited 5G.
In past today's the NFT market has been going on a second pattern. Ever since the all-time high in trading volume on OpenSea on February 1st, we have it.
Profitable is it to own an ICE wearable? Let's do some quick napkin math. Let's assume all 4 wearables brought in an equal amount of revenue, right? And that instead of the last 2 weeks, I'll round it up to, I don't know, a month that I've been collecting income for. This puts each wearable at about $325 passively earned income per month per wearable. Annualize that times 52, that's about $5,000 per year that each wearable will be bringing in for the owner. Not to mention the player is earning even more, and I don't have to rent them out. I can play poker myself and keep all the profits if I want to. And keep in mind, since we're being rewarded in tokens, we never know if ICE will appreciate in value over time, right? Which the first 3 weeks showed us is very, very possible. So our earning potential can easily skyrocket if the ICE price does as well. The other day, Miles, who is one of the founders of Decentral Games, tweeted out some cool stats. He gave a rundown of how profitable it is to delegate or play with one of these ICE wearables. Check them out. Assuming a 0.25 ETH purchase price in current market conditions, if you're the one playing poker in the metaverse with your ICE NFT, your returns would be about $50 a day or 1,421% annual returns on your investment. If you are delegating your NFT to someone else like I am, returns would then be $15 per day per NFT or around 356% annual returns. This is pretty insane. An NFT with an actual cash flow that you can value like a business. I mean, what are we even talking about here? People are currently trading useless Toad NFTs for 5 and 6 figures, while Decentral Games has released not only something that's a limited edition Metaverse clothing brand, but also an NFT with cash flow and passive income capabilities. I don't even know how to value these yet. My wearables have already paid for themselves, essentially. And not to mention the fact that their resale value has probably gone up 10x and will continue to go up in the future, because who doesn't want something that generates passive income, or who doesn't want a wearable that they can play and earn money with? For those asking how players and NFT owners connect, let me show you that really, really quick. So for now, it all happens inside the Decentral Games public Discord server. If you're an ICE NFT owner, you can verify this and you will get a shiny badge next to your name on Discord. And as soon as that happens, you can expect the DMs to start coming in. If you want to just play but don't have the wearable, hop on to the ICE delegation chat. Click the button and add yourself to the list of those looking for a wearable to rent. Or just ask around in the ICE chat room. Since ICE Poker is only 2 to 3 weeks old, connect. Let me show you that really, really quick. So for now, it all happens inside the Decentral Games public Discord server. If you're an ICE NFT owner, you can verify this and you will get a shiny badge next to your name on Discord. And as soon as that happens, you can expect DMs to start coming in. If you want to just play but don't have the wearable, hop on to the ICE delegation chat. Click the button and add yourself to the list of those looking for a wearable to rent. Or just ask around in the ICE chat room. Since ICE Poker is only 2 to 3 weeks old, Discord messages is how players and owners connect right now. However, a game-changing feature is already in the works. The DG team is creating a delegation marketplace. This will instantly connect players and NFT owners and remove all friction from the ecosystem. Until then, people like Federico and myself will have to use Discord to connect, but I don't even mind that because it's super fast to find somebody anyway. So let me give you a quick rundown of my dashboard and show you how it all comes together. Alright guys, so this is my Decentral Games dashboard, and let's just start at the very top. Essentially, these are my total balances, and this is the total amount of ICE that I have earned, whether it's through game or the same thing goes with XP. The cool thing is that I don't have to be playing to earn XP, the delegates are doing that for me. And these are all needed, DG, XP, and ICE, to upgrade wearables, which I'll get to in a second. Let's scroll down here and get to my gameplay balances. So I have not claimed any ICE since I've started, so my unclaimed ICE rewards are fairly high, and I can claim these at any time that I want. Now keep in mind the price of these goes up, so this could be $1,000 tomorrow, right? Yeah, essentially this is my play to earn rewards in ICE that I haven't claimed yet. Okay, and if I scroll down, you'll see my wearables. And when I zoom in, you'll see that each one of these says delegated 2, delegated 2, delegated 2. That's because I have all 3 of them being rented out to somebody who's playing inside the metaverse, earning me passive income and earning themselves income as well, as we've covered already. Sick! The delegation process. So if these were not delegated, what I would do, this button right here would say delegate, and when I click on it, I would paste the person's MetaMask address, and it will immediately delegate that wearable to them so they can start playing. So it's that simple. It's literally takes 2 seconds. And if I want the wearable back, I click on delegate, and it shows the split, profit split, but I can just click this button right here, and I'll get my wearable back to me. Alright, so nothing complicated. And now let's talk about upgrading. If I click upgrade on, say, this blazer right here, this menu pops up. So the reason for upgrading is increasing our ICE earning bonus. So right now at rank 1, you'll see that I have plus 2% ICE earning bonus. If I upgrade, I can get up to 15% ICE earning bonus, which is a pretty big jump, right? And this gets higher and higher the more you upgrade. So the max is rank 5. Obviously, the requirements are pretty simple. So to upgrade to level 2, I'll need 5k ICE coins, some DG, and 50 XP. Now these balances probably go up every time I upgrade. So if I want to go from rank 2 to rank 3, it's going to be around 7,500 ICE. The DG I believe stays the same, and then maybe 75 XP now. Alright?
Hey babe, check this out. Alexa, it's game day.
Streaming football on Prime Video. Closing blinds. Chilling rosé. Rosé?
Well, it's an afternoon game.
It's like she can read your mind. I love that we get to sleep. Ordering fresh mint mouthwash. Extra strength.
Okay, I should get a spray tan, you know? But that's on Wednesday.
Activating blender.
Funeral's on Monday.
Oh, that's the goal, Papa. Can't you see the treasure all along? It was here.
Love the eye patch. When is the show open?
March 8th.
Setting reminder to fake your own death on March 8th.
What the?
When you have to do those love scenes with hot guys, is that fun or is that like the worst?
It's the worst.
So, this bread's delicious. Did you make it?
Yes, it's from my GAMMi's recipe.
Announcement. GAMMi is short for she bought it at Whole Foods. Announcement. Colin left the oysters in the car for 5 hours.
It's probably better unless it can't read your mind.
Bad idea.
What's the game?
Now, we humans have come a long way on our journey. Our first language wasn't exactly, well, a language. Medium well, thank you. Our first vehicles weren't the fastest. Faster. Hey, boys, punch it! Our first maps weren't that accurate. And you know, fellas, the world is actually, give a ball. Our first phones weren't smart. Text mom winky face emoji. Our first screens you couldn't touch.
Mom, Dad's feeling the TV.
No one likes a snitch, son. And the first electric vehicles weren't, let's just say, they look nothing like the first ever Ionic.
So it costs a little more, but you also get more of the ICE earning bonus. So it all kind of levels out. And that's basically it for now. I expect in the coming months to get some really cool updates. Not even months, in the coming weeks to get really cool updates to the delegation dashboard and just a bunch of cool UI tweaks, because right now we're only like 3 to 4 weeks out after launch. So that's it, and let's get back to the video. Now you're probably wondering, with only 500 ICE wearables released at the launch, doesn't that mean that only 500 people could play ICE poker? Well, glad you asked that, but trust me, keep watching. So yes, yes, Decentral Games did only release 500 wearables for this first batch.
They want to achieve with
3
the
weeks later,
Metaverse,
we're now
Web3
seeing
in the
how
back
the
of their
demand
mind
of
is
players
so
has quickly
untapped, and the potential
outgrown the
as of
amount
now
of
is
wearables
limitless.
on the market.
Because no
This was the
one
team's
knows
plan from
how
the
it's
jump.
going to work
If we
or
look
what's
at the
gonna
Discord
work in
chat room for
space.
delegators, you can see that
Mentally,
there are
I'm
so many
creating
people
2 years
waiting
ahead
in line
of-
for someone to
of the
delegate
present.
a wearable
I think
to them.
every single
I feel like there will always be more players than there are wearables, which is a good thing, and which is why Decentral Games will continue to drop these batches of NFT wearables. This is literally needed for the game to keep growing. Before you get sad because you missed out on the first wearable sale, there's good news. As I'm recording this, the second batch actually already launched, and it was sold out in 30 minutes. Good news is, though, more batches will keep getting introduced as the demand for ice poker grows and grows. So you will likely be able to get your hands on one of these for the minting price sooner or later. And if not, I mean, worst case, you can just buy off the marketplace or get one delegated to you. My friend Federico isn't the only person that I'm helping earn a living. I actually delegate to somebody from Poland, another person from Georgia, and so on. Ice poker may not be the first play-to-earn ecosystem out there, but in my opinion, it might be the most advanced. The delegation aspect kind of allows anybody, even if you're from a third world country, to just start playing right away without having to buy an expensive NFT. This is literally a life-changing ecosystem. It's allowing people from third world countries to beat their own country's low-income standards and earn a living for themselves. The play-to-earn space and the crypto gaming space in general is moving super, super fast, so subscribe and I'll make sure to keep you updated as always.
Shoes are worth over $160,000, the most expensive sneakers ever worn on a basketball court. And it's all because of this guy, 488409. A pink fur baby bonnet, 3D glasses, pink NFT owned by Tyrese Halliburton of the Sacramento Kings. 8409 is worth $10,000. Shoes are worth over $160,000, the most expensive sneakers
from anywhere.
Podcast Nation, what is good? Very special episode today. I believe this man will have no need for an introduction. We have Mark Zuckerberg. I have to start practicing this, Mark. I've been in a bunch of meetings saying Meta. Just a lot of practice. You really threw me for a curveball.
Yeah, I'm still getting used to it too.
Obviously, Mark is at the helm and head of Meta, and I'm really excited to be talking to him because I really want to get into the Metaverse and the Web3 world. Obviously, so much of this community is aware of my involvement in the NFT space. And it's funny, on the way here, I realized, oh my God, this interview is going to go similar to the Joe Namath interview I had. For all my sports nerd friends that listen to this podcast, when I had Namath on, I literally asked him 14 questions that were so left field compared to the normal Joe Namath questions. For example, I asked him about why we lost the AFC Championship game and didn't go to Super Bowl 4 instead of talking about Super Bowl 3, and I realized that's what's going to happen here because I have so many very selfish questions for Mark about this Web3 world that I'm going to be selfish with my limited time with him. So, Mark, first of all, it's good to see you, and how are you?
It's good to see you too. It's it's been a while since we've done something like this, but I'm glad to get a chance to do it. There's a lot of exciting stuff going on right now. So, and the reason why we come to you is because you do ask good questions. So let's go for it. I'm curious.
So, Mark, I think what's really funny, pun intended, it's NFT NYC right now. And I was saying AJ, Kevin Rose, a bunch of the old Web 2.0 friends, how much this feels like the early South by Southwest days. And obviously, one of the first times we sat down was after your keynote at South by, just jamming, talking about the space. And I remember the conversation vividly because I have a solid memory, and because a lot of the things we talked about where this was all going was the top. Many of these things played out. As somebody that I feel has had a disproportionate understanding of communication, consumer, behavior. Give me your first time. I know you've had this big, announcement the other day. What is your just kind of macro thesis of the web space we're going? Whether it's the Metaverse, the NFT stuff, like the precipice of, and how similar is it to the time where right before Facebook was launched?
Yeah, so the Metaverse to me today feels feels like the next frontier in social connection, in much the same way that social networking did when I was getting started back in 2004. And, that's a big reason why we wanted to change the brand of the company, is that today I think people think about us as a social media company, but in our DNA, we're a technology company that builds all kinds of different technology to help people connect and tries to advance human connection. And of course, social media is one important part of that, but I think increasingly it's going to be about building platforms and experiences that deliver this sense of presence, like right there with another person. So there's, of course, all the virtual and augmented reality parts of that, and there's the hardware, and I'm really excited about that, the work that we've been working on that for 7 years now at this point, so that's making a lot of progress. But I think some of the experiences are starting to come together too. So we've started to release Horizon and workrooms and some of these experiences where you feel like you're present with someone in a place. It's just pretty crazy to see how that's taking off. And it's not just games. Games I think is the natural starting point, but beyond that, we're starting to see at this point that social interaction and just hanging out is starting to become the biggest way that people spend time on these platforms. That kind of makes sense, and
Mark, when you say these platforms, are you speaking specifically in the behavior you're seeing of people in Oculus?
Yeah.
Great. Let's actually go right there, because you said something in there, and I hope the audience is listening. 7 years, right? And I remember like yesterday, you acquiring Meta acquiring Oculus.
Oh, always tough to know how to refer to it in the past.
Yeah, I'm gonna use both, so stick with me. The Oculus purchase was really interesting because the Instagram purchase, which I was really kind of caught up in because of some of the content I was making, the attempt on Snap, all of those made a ton of sense because you were executing on the thing that I've always thought you had, which is where's the current attention? How do we play within that space? The Oculus one was weird for me because I was like, ooh, that's far away. Why did he do that? 7 years in Metaverse, people are just now starting to kind of get going. What was the thinking of that? Like, why'd you do that?
Well, I mean, a lot of it is just that, we spend most of our days building social apps that you use on a little phone, right? And, as powerful as that is, you have your phone with you all the time, it's also pretty limiting, right? You're not delivering an experience where you can really feel like you're with another person, and in a lot of ways, that's sort of the ultimate dream of building these digital social experiences, is actually being able to make it so that people can feel like they're there together and doing something together and kind of collaborating, and just no technology that we have today can deliver that. So, we've seen this progression where, when I started the company, it was, people primarily, the internet was primarily about text, right? So people text into a computer. Then we got phones that had cameras, so the internet became a lot more visual and mobile. And over the last few years, internet connections have gotten a lot better for everyone. So now video is really the primary way that we share experiences. So you have this progression from text to photos to videos. Connection and expressing ourselves keeps on getting more natural and immersive, but that's not the end of the line, right? There's going to be something after video, and it's going to be much more immersive, and it's going to be something that we can do throughout the day. So you'll have virtual reality for when you want to go into a really immersive zone. You'll have augmented reality to have holograms. So you can imagine a version of this conversation, 3 or 5 years from now, where instead of doing this, over video, you're a hologram here in my living room, or I'm a hologram in your living room.
Mark,
I mean, that's just
on that point, I want to jump into that.
Yeah.
Do you think, and I've watched you talk in the past, and I know how I communicate this, because it's always so challenging. Is your intuition that it is 3 to 5 years from now that is like that the tech between 5G, which was an important step, between some of the stuff you're doing and other companies and entrepreneurs are doing, do you think we can actually? I saw something, I think, in my feed where you were fencing with somebody as a part of the announcement. Yeah. Which looked wild because it was on some Obi-Wan Kenobi shit, right? Like I was like, oh my God, it's happening. Is that? Do you think 3 to 5 is a solid guess? Is that optimistic?
Yeah,
like, talk to me about that.
So I think you want to break it down to, there's the virtual reality side and the augmented reality side.
Yep.
VR is here, right? I think Quest was really the form factor that was necessary to make it mainstream. Quest 2, I think, was a meaningful step beyond that, and is kind of the first mainstream hit that we've had. So many millions.
Was the
of them,
you know, I don't know what you're allowed to share or not. So don't feel comfortable telling me you can't. Is there public, like, I'm just trying to learn how much.
We don't have a public number yet, but it's
Got it.
But it is you know, what I can say is it's many millions, and it's multiple times more than Quest 1, which was sort of
it feels that way.
We needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that'll keep on improving, and we'll keep on shipping new versions of that. So there are a lot of great experiences there, and it's been really cool to see the use cases there broaden out from games to social to now having things around fitness. Right.
There's a lot of that caught my radar. That there was a lot more people paying for fitness apps in Quest than I had any clue of.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, well, think about it. I mean, you can, you know, it's kind of like the Peloton model, where, you know, it's you know, but instead of having a bike or a treadmill, you just have your $300 headset. You can take it with you anywhere you want. You can do boxing or dancing or different kinds of cardio. It's pretty awesome. So I think that'll go for a while and get extended a lot. So there are all these different use cases in VR. When you're talking about the fencing video that I showed with Lee Kiefer in the hologram, that you're going to need augmented reality glasses, and that's a harder problem because first you're inventing a completely new optical stack, right? So you're not just using normal screens and kind of building an architecture around that, which is how virtual reality has sort of worked to date. You need to design a projector and a set of waveguides, so that way you can have glasses that look normal, you can see through them. So there's a lot of interesting science and engineering there. But for augmented reality, if you're going to wear it throughout the day, it's just a lot more important that the form factor is like normal looking glasses, right? I mean, virtual reality.
Mark, do you think? I'm sorry to interrupt. Do you think by the time it hits scale that there's a chance that this is a contact lens game, not a cumbersome overlay like a glasses or a thick, like, what's your take on that? Is that too hard?
I mean, some people are working on that. I think that's quite a bit further off, just because, you know, think about it. It's like whatever is projecting the image needs to have an internet connection. It needs to be powered, right? So, so I mean, I've seen some people have a model of a contact lens that has a little projector that's sort of like in front of your pupil and your blind spot, and it can project something in. But then how are you going to kind of have that sync with the whole rest of the internet and be powered throughout the day?
Well, what if I swallowed a 5G pill?
I mean, I don't know. Let's say 20 years from now, I think that might be it. But AR glasses, I think we're going to start seeing things that look like, you know, normal looking glasses, but that can project holograms into the world. You know, within the next 5 years, you know, I mean, I think that's a somewhat conservative estimate.
Did Pokemon Go, going back 5 years, ironically, was that something you watched carefully? Because I was like, holy shit, this is now happening. People are pulling off on this highway, jumping into the woods to find a Pikachu. I'm pretty good at this game too, but I would have lost this bet, which was, after that was such a smash hit through the phone, the fact that we're here 5 years later and there has not been another significant AR phone execution of that scale, surprising to me. What's your take on that?
Yeah, well, I think Pokemon Go it was interesting, and it's a real hit. It was huge, phenomenal, but I consider it to be more of a location-based game than an augmented reality game. The fact that it shows that you kind of look at it through your camera, I think is somewhat incidental. I think the core mechanic is that you're going to a place. And so you can do that with augmented reality or not, but there certainly is going to be a whole class of experiences that are like that. But in terms of things that really kind of augment reality, I think you have you know, filters, face filters, different effects like that, like what you see in Instagram and Snapchat. I think that's a real thing. That I think is real augmented reality. And certainly, I think that there's going to be a lot more opportunity there once you get to these real-looking glasses that can put holograms in the world. So yeah, I mean, I would hope that by the middle of this decade, we can have something that's sort of like that fencing. clip that I showed. Now, the other issue on that is you need haptics, right? So that way, when your sword hits the hologram sword, you get a sense of feeling from that. So that's a whole interesting other area of research, and I'm not sure exactly where that will be by the middle of this decade, but that's another thing that we're working on, because it's clearly an important part of the whole picture. Is you need to be able to, whether you're playing basketball or giving someone a high five or shaking their hand, you want to be able to get a sense of pressure back, and that I think is just going to be an important part of the whole thing too.
Mark, when you make a move like this to get the organization to this next place, I assume, because I think about when I do things, oftentimes it's more for my team internally than for the world. Like, if they don't understand where I'm trying to take Vayner or my stuff, then I've got no shot. Was that a thought about this in a lot of ways of like, hey, I gotta make sure, because you're a massive company now, like, is this like, I need to give everybody a North Star internally of like, look, no, this is what we're doing. It's not just refining the algo or a filter on Insta or something of that nature.
Yeah, I mean, you get this, because I mean, you're running a company here, and it's like a lot of this is really just about making sure that our team knows what we're doing, right? I mean, running a company is about setting prioritization and principles for where you want to go, and I do think that it's the case that a lot of times the most effective way to communicate to the organization a level of commitment to something is to go say it externally, right?
Yeah,
because now people know that you're serious.
I agree.
So we've been talking about this internally for many years, right? I mean, we've been working on these VR devices for 7 years. We've just sort of steadily ramped up the investment to the point where now in 2021 we're investing $10 billion, more than $10 billion in this. So it's still not the biggest part of what we do, but it's very meaningful. I think that you'd be hard pressed to find any other organization that cares as much about this and is putting as much energy into building all these different parts of the future. And what I think you get for that is that Meta has become the premier place that if you care about these problems, you want to go work on them, right? So whether that's VR, we're building the best devices. AR, I think we're the furthest ahead in terms of actually building the consumer glass form factor and all the different research around that. You mentioned any of the other problems around that, whether it's haptics, or a lot of the software parts of this where people can interact. We're going to be the place where you can build all these different parts of the metaverse experience and then also weave them into Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp. That's going to be pretty wide.
You said something that really caught my attention. Obviously, the far majority of people, almost everybody who's listening to this that runs a company is not going to be running a company of your scale. But what you said there was not only for your team, but did I hear the undertone there of the fact that you put out such a public commitment to this, you see as a recruiting vehicle to the best engineers in the game in this space?
Yeah, well look, I just think that when you plant a flag and say that you're going to go do something, you get haters and criticism, but you also get the people who actually care about that thing and want to make it happen are attracted to the people who I think have the courage to go say, I'm going to go make this happen, even though it's really far off. So I think that all these things there are pros and cons to them. And there's a lot of complexity to manage, but I think that this is true no matter what size organization you're at. Is that having the willingness to just go say, hey, here's what I want to go build. I think certainly creates this self-selection dynamic where when you say here's who I am and what I want to go do, then you get people who want to share that. And what I've found in my career is that it's better to not be timid about that, right? And to not pretend that you're something that you're not. To try to appease critics. I think the more that you can just be honest to who you are and what you want to go do, I think you'll kind of get the right people to join your team. You'll get the right investors, you'll get the right partners, and I think that's kind of how you move forward.
Now I'm going crazy selfish. I reference you and the company a ton in my content over the last decade as my macro thesis. Understand where the attention is. It matters so much. And I often reference your M&A behavior. Can you just give me, because I want to know for myself, the insight on the Instagram deal, the WhatsApp deal? I'm going to leave Oculus off because that was like, I want to maybe come back to it in a little bit, given the macro metaverse combo, but specifically Instagram and WhatsApp, which I thought were really of the moment deals. you know, I don't know if the corporation acknowledges the attempt towards Snapchat. It was well talked about. I don't know the truth or not truth to it, but again, when I heard it or when it was reported, I was like, there he is again. He's 100% right. He's on it again. Like, you know, TikTok must have been potentially a very different thing given the China-based complications. Like, but like, it like. I'll be very honest, every day when I saw Musical.ly way back, I'm like, Facebook's gonna make a play, Facebook's gonna make a play, right? Like, am I right that is a big tenor of how you guys have looked at the world? B, what's that about?
Yeah, so there are a lot of different, these kind of core social interactions that people have in these apps that the different apps have invented over time, and I'm proud that we've invented a bunch of them. You know, going back to some of the core dynamics around being able to communicate with people in your college, being like we were the first that built Newsfeed, some of the core social API work.
By the way, on the record for the youngsters, I'm sorry to interrupt. By the way, I apologize. By the way, for all the youngsters listening right now, when Facebook changed from you going to somebody's wall and leaving a comment to this news feed, it was fucking carnage. The #1 page or group or whatever you guys called it back then was bring back the wall or whatever. Like, Mark, can you speak to that real quick? Just go back to your, young days. Like, when you guys made that move, the community within, nobody was even paying attention to you in the mainstream, all that stuff now. Within the world, immediately people lost their mind, and now that is the core way every social network was built in.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think sometimes when you invent these things, it's, I mean, that can be disruptive, and I think you just kind of need to have the commitment to see it through. But, going back to your point about some of these other companies, it's like there was a kernel with Instagram and with WhatsApp, and also with companies like Snapchat. I mean, I think that they created something that I think is really special and is awesome. Where I just looked at that and I was like, all right, okay. There is something, I think people often tend to look at these social apps and think that they're frivolous, right, early on. And I think that they're, like, these dynamics aren't important. And, oh, it's filtered photos, or oh, it's, disappearing photos, or whatever it is. But I think that,
it's only for college kids.
Yeah, I mean, well, we had that, through our IPO and after when we were having a lot of business struggles. But it's, I kind of looked at those and I was like, hey, I think that there's something that's important here. I think the world is probably underestimating this. And I also think that we have the skills as a company to go grow these things to reach more than 1 billion people around the world. And because we've done that with the core Facebook experience, and I think that there's two skills there. There's sort of the building the social experience, and then there's the helping to ramp up a network around that. And that I think is also a core competence. So, I don't know what would have happened with Instagram, if we hadn't bought it. I don't think it's guaranteed that it would have grown to be as big as it is.
Should I assume, because I'm a nerd when it comes to watching business behavior, that much like what you're doing with Metaverse now, which I think is the macro move of that, and that like in between now and that scaled world, the companies that have the kernels that do best in the attention graph, whether that's in the Metaverse, video, so, picture, like that will always be a core focus?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's a key thing with this rebrand to Meta is it's not like now we're not focused on social media. I mean, that's going to be the bread and butter of what we do. That's the core thing. And our work to build the Metaverse encompasses both building social experiences and building these future platforms like VR and AR. It's got to be both, right? We have to weave all of these new technologies through these social apps, and because you want to be able to jump into the Metaverse and a 3D experience from your Instagram feed, right? See your friend at a concert. We showed this as part of the keynote presentation. Just dive in and maybe be a hologram at the concert, but a lot of the discovery around that is going to happen through the core social platforms. So yeah, that's going to continue to be a focus. We're going to keep on focusing on growing and building apps and adding more social mechanics around that. I think that there's a lot more to invent there. And then I think that there's this next set of platforms, right, where one of the things that I reflect on a lot is social media kind of grew up with the smartphone.
Yes.
Right? Facebook I started in 2000. 2004. I think Apple was probably already working on their iPhone design by then. It came out in 2007. So we didn't really get to shape what the smartphone was.
No.
We built a lot of the most used experiences for it, but it sort of it grew at the same time. And because of that, I feel like the smartphone sort of grew in a way that it's somewhat limiting in terms of the type of social experiences that you could have. I feel like there's a lot of things that I would love to build that we can't build because we're kind of constrained into this, little rectangle.